What's up, everybody? This is Allison Justice with the Cannabis Research Center. Today I want to talk about commercial sanitizers and disinfectants. There are so many out there to choose from. Today I put together information from all of these different types where we can really look at them one by one to understand what is going to help you out the best as far as actually sanitizing your product, depending on what you're putting it on, but also how you can save money by just understanding what each one does and what its limitations are. So first, if we look at the top here, this is the active ingredients of the different disinfectants. The second row shows you the different common trade names. Now there's lots of others out there, obviously, but some of the more common products are xylitol being your peroxide, peracetic acid, sanidate being just a different ratio of those active ingredients. Hypochlorous acid is a super interesting one to me because in my past, a lot of large-scale greenhouse disinfection would happen, but there was never any mention of hypochlorous acid. It has come in as a big boom in the cannabis industry as of late. And the more I dig into it, the more I understand why, but I'm still not necessarily putting together the pieces of why it's just now coming on, because the more I learn about it, the more I understand its practicality, especially when we look at the price point. Quinary ammonium is another one. Lots of different brands of this one. I just put Clean Grow here because that's what I'm familiar with. Sodium hypochlorite, which is Clorox, and then of course alcohol. So let's first look at contact time. Contact time is the time that you've sprayed the table, plants, whatever it is you're disinfecting, and the minutes that it takes to kill to its percentage it says it can kill. So for example, you look at alcohol, it usually says 99.9% kill rate. And so this is with one organism they're able to achieve that. Now what that means though is for other organisms that might be stronger against these disinfectants, it might not be quite that high. So, take this as a generality, knowing that things can be different depending on the organism you're trying to treat. And so looking at these common ingredients, peroxide, you're looking at 1 to 10 minutes at this ratio with xylitol. Sanidate is a bit longer, but is more aggressive. Hypochlorous acid, 1 to 10 minutes. Quinary ammonium, 10 to 15 minutes. So quinary ammonium, you might think, wow, that takes forever. Why would I ever use that? Well, quinary ammonium compounds can be great because they stick around. They stick around for a little while and have residual killing power. So you can stack your bins or whatever it may be, and you're continuing to get that disinfecting effect. Sodium hypochlorite, 1 to 25 minutes, and alcohol is pretty immediate in 1 minute. So this is a piece you want to look at to understand, well, how long do I need to let this product sit in order for it to do its job? Longevity of mixed solution. I think this is a super important one to think about because you have your team make up these solutions. How long do they sit there? Do they put a date? Do you know how long, if they are making different spray bottles, for example, of these solutions, how long do they keep it in that bottle? How often do they refresh it? It's important to know this because you can actually be spraying something that ends up, might as well be water. So xylitol, we're looking at 3 days. Same with sanidate. Hypochlorous acid, 1 to 2 days. Quinary ammonium, 3 weeks, which sounds awesome, but there's some other drawbacks to quinary ammonium that we'll talk about. And then Clorox, looking at a day. Alcohol, infinity. Now keep in mind that asterisks, this is their tested values if it's in a clean container, so you don't have organic matter in that container that these active ingredients are killing, and then which destroys their sanitizing ability. But this is if it's in a clean container and it's in a dark area. because the sun can help break down some of these compounds. If you're looking to run it with your irrigation solution, so really this only being xylitol and hypochlorous acid, it matters. Does it change the pH? Xylitol, we've used it for quite a while in our irrigation schemes, and it does change the pH, but not as aggressively as your actual pH changing solution, like phosphoric acid or whatever it may be. But understanding that and being able to let your team know, hey, if we're doing a line cleanse with emitters still in the plants, you're going to see a change in the pH. Whereas with hypochlorous acid, you're not. The others don't matter because you can't put them on your plants. OMRI, everything but alcohol and sodium chloride is OMRI approved. It's only the alcohol that's flammable. Effective on virus. Now this is a super important one, specifically talking about HLVD. So either of the peroxide solutions do not work against HLVD. So if this is something you are desperately trying to either lower in your own greenhouse or maybe just completely avoid, and that you adding sanitizing agent to tools or whatever, it's important that you realize your xylitol and your Sanidate is not going to help you with that duty. Hypochlorous acid, quinary ammonium, pretty much everything else does have capacity except alcohol. Interesting, you would think that could be the strongest compound you could use, but it's actually not. So if you were looking to mitigate viroid, you really should focus on a quinary ammonium and then of course the 2 chloride treatments. The only thing I would mention to keep in mind is that these products are proven to kill viruses. HLVD is different. It's a viroid, and so its structure is a little different and more resistant. Now, there are cannabis labs that have proven that Clorox does work for HLVD, and by chemistry, there's no reason that hypochlorous acid wouldn't as well. But I just like to be very transparent in saying that it has not officially been tested for HLVD. Neither has quinary ammonium. So if anybody has any other data, telling otherwise, I'd love to hear it. In theory, these two, the hypochlorous acid and the quinary ammonium, should work, but that has not actually been proven. Can it be used on plants? This is a huge deciding factor. Are you wanting to flush your plants while you flush your lines, or are you wanting to have a sanitizing agent always there in your system to keep microbes down? If you do, you really have to make a wise decision here because you don't have that many options. So of course xylitol can be used for it. Sanidate is not recommended. Hypochlorous acid, yes. And I'm gonna stop here and just say that there's a lot of companies out there that are pushing the use of hypochlorous acid, which again, the more I read about it, the more I use it and get experience, the more I like it. But we don't necessarily know what the effects are adding large amounts of hypochlorous acid to our plants, whether it's foliar or root drench. That's not to say it would be a negative thing. It's just to say we're very early on, and we're really not familiar with any side effects there. And then the rest of the products here you wouldn't want to use on plants. So that leaves you kind of 2 choices if you do want to drench or spray on your plants. Corrosive risk. Now this is what you want to know for spraying your metal benches. And I put this from a low to high because sadly none of them are just no. There's going to be some sort of corrosive effect depending on how long you leave the solution, at what rate you use the solution. But what we can know is the probability and make the wisest decision from there. So xylitol and Sanidate, they're high corrosive risk. Hypochlorous acid is moderate. Quinary ammonium is moderate. sodium hypochlorite is very high and alcohol is low. So if you're growing in, say, a greenhouse where you don't actually have stainless steel benches, you might want to opt to your hypochlorous acid or quinary ammonium. That way you don't end up making all your benches rusty. Residual activity. This is an interesting one. So again, like I was talking about earlier, residual activity is just the amount of time it will continue to kill once it's applied to the material. And it's a no for everything except quinary ammonium and sodium hypochlorite. This is something definitely to think about if you have foot baths, if you have maybe you want to put it in your walkways where you are getting much longer lasting cleaning effects there in your walkways. Maybe you put it on your walls, basically anywhere that your plants aren't touching. This could be a really good product to put just to make sure you're continuing for a longer period of time to kill those organisms versus a single spray and then you start to accumulate back up. The next few lines, kind of go off of those topics we just touched on. Can you apply this stuff to containers, floors, foot baths, walls, irrigation? You've got to think for irrigation line, for example, here, just because you can put it through the irrigation line doesn't mean you can put it on your plants. So if you want to be able to flush your lines to help keep that biofilm down, yet not have to unplug every emitter, maybe a good option would be to go with the hypochlorous acid or the hydrogen peroxide. If you are cleaning out a room and you want to give it the most aggressive treatment you can to your irrigation lines, knowing that the emitters are not going to plants, you could certainly use something more heavy duty, I would say. So your quinary ammonium or your Clorox, and really clean the lines at a more intense rate versus along the way. I think the most, once you have these concepts wrapped around your head and you understand how you're wanting to do your cleaning. Are you wanting to only hit your irrigation lines when you flip a room so you don't have plants? Once you wrap your head around those topics and how you want to disinfect, of course, one of the most important things to do is look at that cost per gallon of solution. So here, keep in mind, this is from the label rate. This is what they suggest as a high rate. So right here, rate of surface disinfection. The next line would just be what the label says to make it a bit clearer, but I wanted to put it to a percentage for math reasons. So, the Sanitate Xeritol 1 to 50 for sanitizing hard surfaces, 300 ppm for hypochlorous acid, 0.25 fluid ounces per gallon of quinary ammonium, 10% is a Clorox mixture that's used commonly, and 70% for alcohol. So taking all of those rates and then applying that to how much you're actually paying for your solution. Keep in mind here that I am using these examples as if I'm buying one bulk bottle at a time, not drums. So 2.5 gallons. Obviously, if you buy in bulk, your prices are going to be much better, but I thought this was fair because they're all wholesale prices for single units. I've made this editable, so any of these lines you see here, you can change. If you want to change the concentration that you actually use in your facility, if you want to change this to a 50-gallon drum, what we're getting here is just an example, and what I hope you can do is take this tool, put in the prices you actually pay, and start to understand, we clean a lot. Cultivators, 3/4 of their job is cleaning, and so making sure you're using a product that is killing the microbe you want it to kill, is not destroying any of your equipment, stopping pathogen spread and is the smartest choice as far as return as you can get is what you need to do. So in my example, based off single unit prices, I was actually quite surprised at a few things. So Sanidate and Xylitol, you're looking at just about the same price per gallon. So this would be at diluted gallon. How much does it cost? 78 cents. And so if you look across through here and you ignore alcohol, because nobody's spraying alcohol and their greenhouses are large grows. But if you ignore that, they're pretty expensive. But what can you do with those? You can, at least with Xylitol, you can add it to your plant itself. Spray it foliarly. So maybe that helps you make the decision of, if I'm just cleaning hard surfaces, maybe Xylitol isn't the best bet for your money. Hypochlorous acid, you're down to about 25 cents. And this one's super interesting because if you're buying more than a drum at a time, they actually sell you generators. And so you generate, because that's a piece of how hypochlorous acid is made, is through electricity. So you're actually generating the sanitizing solution yourself at your facility, and then the price gets much, much lower. But at the gallon price here, or the 5-gallon price, we're looking at about 25 cents. Quinary ammonium, it is the lowest cost of everything, but keep in mind this is one that you cannot put on plants, but it does have lingering effects. So again, for walkways, for walls, this could be a really good option and a very inexpensive option. 14 cents versus 78 cents for a large grow, that adds up very, very fast. And then Clorox. This would just be a gallon jug you buy at the grocery store, $8 a pop. I was actually surprised by how much this equated to per gallon, 85 cents. A lot higher than what I would imagine. And then alcohol there at the $38 a gallon. So I think this is an extremely important tool to look at and implement for your team to really help you understand and make the best decisions of what are my purposes, what am I using this for, is it going on plants, will my metal rust, and how much am I paying per gallon. So we'll put this on the website where you can download it and manipulate things to suit your facility the best, and we can start making the wisest choices as the prices for flower go very far down.